All right, so it is 7 o'clock on Monday, April 19th, 2021, and I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll ask council members if you have any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Okay, seeing none. And just to note for the viewers on YouTube, Councillor Clark is in attendance. She just has her camera off to be able to make sure that she has enough internet bandwidth to stay along with us. And Councillor Brody will be joining us hopefully midway through the council meeting. So before we begin, I just wanted to share an interesting story from this past weekend. So as we all know, Premier Doug Ford made some changes in regards to COVID and with the number of gatherings and everything else. And one of those was today the reduction in the amount of people that can attend weddings and funerals and all those types of things. And I got a message from one of our ratepayers on Friday that her daughter was planning on getting married this coming weekend. But with the numbers changing from 50 people into attendance down to 10, they decided that they wanted to move the wedding date to this Sunday. And with that, as everybody knows, you need to have the marriage certificate, and it says on there the date that the marriage is going to be happening. And they thought they'd send me a message to see if I could help them out. And with this was at 8 or 9 o'clock at night on Friday. And I did some messages, to different county councilors, because as we all know in Adelaide Metcalfe, we don't issue marriage certificates. But with the relationships that we've built in Adelaide Metcalfe, we were able to have the deputy clerk from Southwest Middlesex attend their township office, municipal building in Glencoe on Saturday morning to issue them a new marriage certificate, so they could have their wedding held in Adelaide Metcalfe at their family farm on Sunday and allow all of their family members to attend to make sure they weren't breaking any rules when they were initially supposed to get married the following week. So just thought that's a little interesting story about, something that that I didn't think I'd ever have to deal with is, making sure that somebody could have a new date on their certificate there. And I think Marianne Hendricks, you just sent me a message. The proposed date isn't fixed, so they could have. That's right, Deputy Mayor Hendricks. They could have kept the original one, but they needed whoever issued that license to correct it and initial it to the new date. So they had to go and get a new license there. So, anyways, I just thought I'd share that story just because it's an interesting one in the times that we're in right now. So. We'll move along to the minutes of the previous meeting, which is April 6th. Mover and seconder for approval of those minutes. You have Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And we have a couple of timed events. So starting up right away is our Committee of Adjustment, and then followed by some public meetings for zoning bylaw amendments. So can we have a motion from council to resolve that council convene as the Committee of Adjustment for the purpose of hearing consent application B01-2021 at 7:05?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Councillor McKinnon, I don't know if you meant to, but your camera is shut off.
Yes, I'm experiencing technical difficulties.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you're still there. Perfect. So that's carried. So the purpose of the following public hearing for Adelaide Metcalfe Committee of Adjustment is to give the members of council or members of the Committee of Adjustment, as well as the general public, an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the application before the committee this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or public body files an appeal without having made a written submission to the committee, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. And if you wish to be notified of the decision, please contact Jennifer Turk, our clerk, by email or call her at the office. And I think we have a few attendees already on the list there. I'm sure we'll have them join in, and we'll have our IT staff, Ryan, Adam in there. There's Terry Brown and Phil Brown. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. So what we'll have is Stephanie will go through the report, and then you'll have a chance to have any comments, followed by any questions or comments from the Committee of Adjustment. Then we'll have a 5-minute recess to allow anybody that's watching live on YouTube to join us if they have any comments because of this whole online format. And then we'll come back from that recess here if there's any of those comments, and then we'll make a decision. All right, so I'll hand it over to Stephanie for the report.
Thank you. So the purpose and effect of the application is to sever a parcel of land for lot addition purposes, having an area of approximately 160 square meters or 0.039 acres to be merged with an abutting lot known municipally as 2088 Mullaferry Drive. The lot addition would add to an existing lot, which you can see on your screen, making the combined new lot area approximately 0.379 acres. The applicant has indicated that when the original severance occurred, the property lines were set incorrectly and were registered for less than intended. With this, a shed and a part of the septic weeping bed were inadvertently constructed on the neighboring property, which you can see a bit more clearly on your screen here. This is the sketch the applicant provided. You can see part of the septic bed in green and the shed here. So the lands receiving the lot addition contain a single detached dwelling, an accessory building, and are serviced by a private well and septic system. The proposed lot addition will result in an existing septic system and accessory building being wholly contained on 2088 Mullaferry Drive. And the lands to be retained would be approximately 47.6 acres and contains a single detached dwelling, several agricultural buildings, and agricultural land and crop production. Additionally, a small portion of the land to be retained is regulated by the Conservation Authority. Notice of the application was circulated to landowners and agencies in accordance with the Planning Act, and staff did receive the following comments. The township's drainage superintendent indicated that as a condition of approval, the drainage reassessment regarding the Morgan Drain project be reassessed. The county engineer advised of no comments. The chief building official requested confirmation be provided to the satisfaction of the municipality that the lot line is adjusted such that the septic system is a minimum of 10 feet inside the new property line. Bell Canada advised of no comments. Enbridge Gas, does have servicing lines within the area, which may or may not affect the proposed severance. And as of the date of writing the report, staff have not received any comments from the public. The provincial policy statement, county official plan, and the township official plan provides for consideration for minor boundary adjustments within agricultural areas, provided the application does not result in the creation of a new lot and that agricultural activities are not adversely affected. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal to the addition of an area of approximately 160 square meters or 0.039 acres to be merged with the abutting property can be considered a minor boundary adjustment, and approving the application would result in existing shed and septic system being contained entirely with the lot in which they are utilized. So it is recommended that the application be granted subject to conditions which council will have before them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Terry, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
I'd just like to say that the fence that marks the proposed property line has been there since 1962, and we were quite surprised to find out when a recent survey was done that we were where the property line was. So it was kind of a shock to us after almost 60 years that, so we believe that for almost 60 years that the property we're requesting was actually part of our property. I just wanted to make that clear. There was also one thing I had a question about with the conditions, if I could ask that.
Go ahead.
It's the drainage reassessment for the subject property be conducted regarding the Morgan Drain project. And I just received in the mail this week or last week, the Morgan Drain project. I'd just like to comment that our portion of that is very small. It's $7. And if it was to go back for reassessment through the engineers, I would think that might cost quite a lot of money. So I can see that possibly based on other fees that other ratepayers are paying, it might go up to $8 after it goes through the whole reassessment process. So I'm just wondering, is there, and I don't know if I'm not following proper procedure here, I apologize. But I'm just wondering with that reassessment, and I did request what the cost might be, and I didn't get, we don't have an answer on that yet, but it might be reassessed to $8 and with a lot of paperwork and work done by engineers to figure that out. But otherwise, the other conditions we're totally happy with.
Okay.
That's thank you.
Not a problem. So Stephanie, do you want to address, or Morgan, in regards to the Morgan Drain reassessment?
Steph, unless you have an answer, I was going to say, to be honest, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what the answer is. I wish I had our drainage superintendent here.
Through the mayor, to the applicant, yes, that condition came from their drainage superintendent. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question at this time, but certainly we can follow up.
Okay. And just one other point I just reminded I need to make. I'd like to thank Stephanie for helping get this together because it's totally a new territory for us. So I appreciate all the advice you gave us in preparing this.
Thank you. Councilor McKinnon, you have your hand up.
Through you, Mayor Smith, to Mr. Brown. My understanding is that the drainage superintendent can do these schedule of assessment, and given that it is such a minor, or is so minor in nature, maybe he could elaborate on this to you and give you a costing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions at all from members of the Committee of Adjustment before we go to the recess? Okay, seeing none. Just one question, if I could. So with this property, I know recently it was for sale, and I believe I saw a sold sign up there. Just making sure that with this severance, that it will be all together in one parcel before that transfer of ownership is completed. Is that correct?
That's correct. The sale is pending the severance approval. And,
okay,
and having all the paperwork registered and done. Yep.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have a 5-minute recess just in case anybody that's watching live on YouTube would like to make any comments. And Ryan will put that presentation up there with the information as to how you can join us to make those comments.
Curtis.
Yes. You just remuted yourself, Councillor McKinnon.
Are we muted right now? So live YouTube can't hear?
No, everybody can hear what we're talking about.
Okay. I'll talk to you after the meeting then.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go. We're back after those that very long 5 minutes. I feel like it was longer than that, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Jen, was there anybody that decided to join us for any comments?
No, I had no registrations.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Okay, is there any other questions or comments from the Committee of Adjustment? Okay, seeing none and hearing none. So we have the recommendation in front of us with the 8 conditions. If somebody would like to move that. Okay, Councillor McKinnon, seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Clark. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, thank you so much, Terry and Phil, for joining us. Okay, and now we need to have a motion from council to resolve that the Committee of Adjustment to hear consent. No, that's not the one we need. Oh yeah, that is right. Committee of Adjustment to hear consent application PO1 2021 be closed at 7:24 p.m. and council reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, so jumping into our next part of our meeting, which is our public meetings, we need to have a motion from council to resolve that the public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment Z02 2021 and Z03 2021 be open at 7:24 p.m. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hendricks and seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Clark. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right, and I see Laverne Kirkness was part of the attendees as he moved. There he is. Laverne is joining us. He's the authorized agent for the next 2 applications. Laverne, are you able to hear us and see us?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Laverne. And what I'll do is I'll have Stephanie to go through the first report there.
Thank you. The purpose and effect of the application is to implement a condition of consent imposed by the Township Committee of Adjustment for Consent BO4 2020, which conditionally severed a parcel of land with an area of 0.52 hectares or 1.3 acres in order to accommodate the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling. The application proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be severed from the general agriculture A zone to a surplus dwelling SD zone in order to recognize the residential use of the lands and restrict agricultural uses. The application also proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be retained from the general agriculture A zone to the agricultural only AO zone, and that's to prohibit new residential uses on the lands. Planning staff are satisfied with the proposed zone changes and are in support of them. And so the notice of the application was circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff did receive the following comments. So the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority has reviewed the application and has no concerns with the proposal. The county engineer has advised no comments. The chief building official has advised of no comments. CN Rail has advised that they reviewed the information and site location and do not have any comments or objections to the application. And Enbridge Gas has advised that they do have service lines within the area that may or may not be impacted from the proposed severance. And as of the date of the report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public regarding the proposal. So it is recommended that the application be approved in principle and that the first and second reading of the implementing bylaw proceed, with the final reading to be provided once a deposited reference plan has been received to the satisfaction of the township. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And before I go to comments from Laverne, I did forget to state the following, which is the purpose of the following public hearings for Ally Metcalfe Council is to give members of the council as well as the general public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the applications before council this evening. And the public is advised that comments expressed in written material presented are a matter of full disclosure. If any person or public body files an appeal of decision to the local planning appeal tribunal without having made a written submission to council, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. And if you wish to be notified of the decision, please contact Jennifer Turk, our clerk, by email or call her at the office. Okay, now, once I stumbled through that, I'll give that over to Laverne if you have any additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I know that we were in front of you in December when you granted the consent. I think the consent had something like 15 conditions. Condition 4 was to rezone the site just the way that we are proposing it. And we appreciate Stephanie's report, which is exactly the same. And we appreciate the staff support, and we're hoping that council will see fit to adopt the report and enact the zoning so we can meet this condition number 4 and move forward to making sure the consent will actually happen. Now, we haven't got a reference plan done. Surveyors are really busy these days, and when you ask for a reference plan, you're a few months out before you can get it. So that's why we don't have it. And but we are in process of getting it, and we'll get it soon. So I know that you can only give the bylaw 2 readings before we do that, I guess, as I understand, is a matter of your practice, and that's fine with us. We'll just get it to you as soon as we can. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Laverne. Is there any questions or comments from members of council? Okay, seeing none. Now, I should have asked this question to Jen before. Jennifer, could we jump into the next report as well to save us that 5-minute recess, doing that 2 more times?
I prefer not, only because they are separate applications. I know it's the same applicant and the same authorized agent, but I prefer we follow process.
I thought you were going to say that. Okay.
Right.
We'll do, no, it's okay. So I already asked if any council members had any questions. So what we'll do that 5-minute recess, then we'll come back and then we'll make a decision. All right, so Jen, did we have anybody join us at all?
No, Mayor Smith, no further registrations.
Alrighty, so we have the recommendation in front of us. If we have a mover and seconder there for approval. Okay, Councilor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks or Councilor Clark. Do you want to unmute yourself so I can get a seconder? There we go. Okay, I just saw your hand go up there, Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Okay, all those in favor? And opposed? And that's carried. Councillor Clark, are you able to hear us at all? Morgan, if you wanted to send a message to Councillor Clark just to make sure everything's okay. And in the meantime,
I think she's been having some internet issues.
Yeah, I'm here, but it's,
Okay.
my wheel went around there to freeze.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Excellent. Alrighty, so that's all dealt with. So we have the next one there, which is Z03 2021, and we have the same players around the table. So I'll hand it over to Stephanie for the report.
Thank you. So the purpose and effect of the application is to implement a condition of consent imposed by the Township Committee of Adjustment for Consent BO5 2020, which conditionally severed a parcel of land with an area of 0.86 hectares or 2.1 acres in order to accommodate the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling. The proposed zone change for the lot to be severed to a site-specific surplus dwelling SD-4 zone will recognize the disposal of the surplus farm dwelling and will limit the range of agricultural uses permitted on the lands. The SD-4 zone will also recognize the existing 350 meter square accessory building, whereas the maximum ground floor area of 75 square meters is required, and recognize the lot frontage of 12 meters being the width of the driveway along Walker's Drive, whereas the minimum lot frontage of 30 meters is required. Planning staff are satisfied that the application of the site-specific surplus dwelling SD-4 zone is appropriate for the proposed residential use of the lands, and as such, planning staff support this proposed zone change. And the proposed zone change for the lot to be retained to the agricultural only AO zone will prohibit the establishment of new residential uses on the land, and planning staff are satisfied with the application of the AO zone and consider it to be appropriate for the remnant farm parcel and support that zone change as well. So the notice of the application has been circulated in accordance with the Planning Act, and staff did receive the following comments. The St. Clair Region Conservation Authority previously provided comments regarding the surplus farm dwelling severance and has no further comments regarding the zoning bylaw amendment. The county engineer had advised of no comments. The chief building official has advised of no comments. CN Rail has advised that they've reviewed the information and site location and do not have any comments or objections to the application. And as of the date of the report, staff did not receive any comments or concerns from members of the public. So it is recommended that the application be approved in principle, and further that council proceed with the first and second reading of the implementing bylaw, with the final reading to be provided once a depositive reference plan has been received to the satisfaction of the township. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Laverne, do you have anything I'd like to comment on this application? You're muted. Great.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my comments are the same as the last one. This is a very parallel situation here, as you can tell. And we're just hopeful that council will support the staff's report. And we thank Stephanie for that. And this will allow us to meet condition 4 of the consent decision. So thank you. Any questions I'd be trying to answer.
Okay, thank you, Laverne. Is there any questions or comments from members of council? Okay, not seeing any. We'll jump into that 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back and see if there's anybody that would like to join us. Alrighty, Jen, did you receive any comments at all, or anybody that'd like to join to make comments on this application?
No further registrations, Mayor Smith.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. And just want to make note that Councillor Brody was able to join us during that 5-minute break. So welcome, Mike, to the council meeting. We're on, where did that page go? We're on the second public meeting, so Z03 2021, and we just finished the 5-minute recess. So we'll be having the motion for the recommendation for approval. Is there any questions or comments on this one before we have that motion? Seeing none, mover and seconder for approval of the application, Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Laverne, for joining us this evening. And I'll look for a motion from council that the public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment Z02 2021 and Z03 2021 be closed at 7:47.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Alrighty, so we'll jump. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Yes,
Thank
you're
guys.
probably wanting to head out. Okay, thank you so much. Alrighty, so we'll move into correspondence. So the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. So our next regular meeting is on Monday, May 3rd, and then followed by May 17th, which also includes our planning reports, and then June 7th. So the first item for correspondence is from Stratford Caradoc, and it's a notice of open house and statutory public hearing. Next section is recommended readings. Item number 2 is from the Solid Bayfield Conservation Authority, and it's their April 15th agenda for their board of directors, as well as their March 18th minutes for their directors meeting. Item number 3 is from the Middlesex London Board of Health, and it's their update for March 2021, as well as their monthly meeting update. Okay, we'll move into the action required. The first one is from the town of Amherstburg, and it's a resolution for support for the amendments to the Agricultural Tile Drainage Installation Act. Okay, do you have any comments on this one? Councillor McKinnon.
I was for support.
Okay, any other comments on this one? Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Yeah, I'll second that. I don't know how onerous it would be to handle all that extra, because we'd have to file all those tile maps as they were done, but I think it is a good place to have them.
Okay. Jen, I don't see a motion on my resolutions list.
It is motion 9. Township of Amherstburg is actually supporting the Hort Township's request.
I see that now. Perfect. I did a quick look and I couldn't find where that municipality was. Okay. Mover and seconder. So I'm assuming Councilor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hicks moving and seconding that. Is there any comments at all? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And Morgan, who did we lose, or did we not lose anybody?
Oh, IT just dropped off the call, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay. And then item number 5 is from the Township of Hudson. It's a resolution of support of the support for fire departments. Chief, do you have anything you'd like to add for this one? You're on mute. Yeah, we can't hear you yet. There you go. We'll do something. Still can't hear you. Who's looking forward to getting back in person? I certainly am. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so I would recommend to support this. So you will recall that back when we built the fire hall, it was through stimulus money at that time, paid for 2/3 of our fire hall. So if the opportunity ever arises, and take advantage of it. So I would recommend to support this.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So giving additional comments from council, or do you have a mover and seconder for support?
I'll move that we support it.
Okay, Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, you had your hand up. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and then the next one there is a letter from the Lashbrooks, and with this one, I'm going to hand it over to Morgan just for some additional information.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to council. I'm just going to share my screen just so I can get a visual up of what has been requested. So Ward Lashbrook has been speaking to his neighbors about a chunk of property that spans from basically Panel Lane and up Center Road that touches on a municipal boundary. I guess there's a south and a north part there. The south part here and down is within, well, this whole piece of property is within the township itself, but from south and down, both sides are township residents. And then from somewhere about here and north, the left side of the map is township property, and the right side of the map is Strathroy-Caradoc. So what's being requested at this time by Ward and his neighbors is really to ask the township if we would consider disposition of these lands. Their main priority is really this section here that backs onto neighboring properties. The challenge with just looking at the southern part of this land is that we would then create a municipal landlocked portion up here, which is not a good practice. So what I wanted to do was get the letter on the council agenda, because going through this process is going to take quite a bit of township effort. It's mainly an administrative or legal process, but I did get just a very preliminary planning analysis, and that basically identified that there is a municipal boundary up here with Strathroy-Caradoc, which will pose some challenges, and that if we didn't look at this parcel as a whole, that we would essentially be creating a municipal landlocked parcel up here. So in saying that, I guess what I would ask council is if this is something that council would like me to take a look at. If that's the case, there are a number of things that will need to be done, including a fulsome review of our disposition or our sale and other disposition of land policy. We'd have to look at costs. I'd have to identify costs for the township and the landowners that are making the request, because the costs will fall on the landowners to undertake this request or project. That would be in the form of a survey or otherwise legal fees to transfer the lands, develop an agreement with the requesting landowners to make sure that we can recover any township costs. I'd have to get an appraisal done for council so that you are aware of what the lands are worth, so you can make an informed decision there. And then essentially I put together a report to council for the consideration of declaration of surplus lands. Of course, this report will include a fair and transparent process to work with abutting property owners with regard to the lands that are interested here. And then of course, if council declares the land surplus, then the township will need to provide notice through the clerk's office. And then we'll continue to work with the abutting property owners to really complete the disposition of lands. So I can stop there for council's consideration and opportunity for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. Just to note, I believe if looking at that map, the properties that are in Strathclyde a while ago, I believe it was a number of years ago, there was a request from some of the properties in that 400 stretch, the 414, 410, 406, or 44. There was a request some time ago about extending their rear yards, and that council did look at that a couple years ago. But this request is coming from Adelaide Metcalfe property owners along Cedar Crescent there. So I just wanted to make that a note of that council has looked at the further north, but not as a whole. But at that time, council didn't make a decision as to moving forward at all. Deputy Mayor Hendricks, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. First of all, how far away is that little strip from the little strip that Strathroy is planning to rezone into housing? And second of all, would the commercial landowners on the west of that strip be interested in gaining a little bit if the homeowners weren't? I mean, that would have to come out at some sort of a public meeting, but for the township, that strip is really wasted, unless that's not you could turn it into a trail and that's about it.
Okay. Councillor Brody, you're muted right now.
I would, through you, Curtis, I would think we need a lot more information before we talk much on this. As Morgan basically stated, there's a number of issues that have to be looked at. Fair to both sides. Do we need it? What's it worth? There's a lot of things that need to come that we have to see before we can even start making any kind of decision, I would say.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from members of council?
Mr. Mayor, I think Morgan's intent was just to bring it forward for a first look, right? That was the intention tonight. So I don't have, I agree with Mike. I just would want to wait till we get a full report. But it's just nice to have it before us now to think about, even though we don't have all the information.
Okay. And the motion that we have in front of us is resolved that council received the letter from Ward Lashbrook regarding the proposal to the township to move forward with a joint request from the 4 Adelaide Metcalfe taxpayers to acquire a portion of the township property that adjoins the back of 6 Cedar Crescent, 2 Cedar Crescent, 69 Panel Lane, and property described as part lot 22 concession 3, and that council directs staff to move forward with the completion of this request, noting that each party involved will be responsible financially for their own portion of costs associated with this venture. So with that motion, it is directing staff to move forward with completing that request. So I'm not sure if we're wanting to have more information before we go ahead and do that, or what council would like to do. Councilor
if I may, Mayor Smith. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, let's go with Morgan first, just for clarification, and then we'll go to questions because that could straighten some things up.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through you to council. Really what I'm looking for is direction from council to at least take the first step towards creating a more fulsome report. There's a lot of work that has to go into this with regard to providing council with the information that it needs to fully consider completing a request. So I guess what I would do is change that recommendation a little bit more around that council would direct the CAO to bring forward a report at an upcoming meeting following the township's sale and other disposition of land policy that outlines the proposed process to potentially sell the lands to abutting property owners for council's consideration. So a little nuance there where I'm basically bringing more information, the information that council needs to make a decision whether we move forward on this one or not. But I just wanted the first step to be essentially if there's something I didn't know that was going on with this property or otherwise previous discussions that would have put this to a full stop.
Okay. And I assume, Morgan, at a certain point, this would likely go into close just because we're talking about disposition of land possibly?
Yep.
Okay, so with that change in the recommendation there, so we're receiving the letter and that we're directing the CIO to move forward with gathering that information in that report. Okay, mover and seconder for that. Okay, Councillor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Question,
Oh,
question,
sorry, yep. Councillor
discussion?
Clark.
Yeah, so I just, I want the motion, if I understand correctly, to be general in nature and not specific to those individual property owners. And I think it should encompass the entire strip. Back to Deputy Mayor Hendricks' comments. You know, if you decide you're gonna unload the bottom half, then you've got a landlocked piece up top. So I think we need to look at the entire area, like comprehensively look at the entire area before we make a decision. So I don't want it piecemeal. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay.
If that's what it is.
Yep, and with that, the only reason I stated the addresses that were there is because that's the addresses of from the letter. So that first portion of the motion is just saying that we're receiving the letter from those individuals. And then the second part is that we're directing the CAO to bring forward a report. So all that information could be there in regards to other abutting landowners and different options for council. So hopefully that
Okay, thank
clears
you.
everything up. So that was moved and seconded.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right, so with that, that's the end of the correspondence. So we need to have a motion to resolve that council receive and file correspondence item CC1 and 2 and 3, I believe. Yeah, that's what Jen's saying. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hendricks, I think she had her hand up. And Councillor Brody, all those in favor? And that's carried.
Aye.
Alrighty, so with that, we have a long list of staff reports. That was a joke. We have one there from our clerk and acting treasurers with the accounts payable. Jen.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. So this is this accounts payable listing from April 1st to April 14th. Sorry, I have to switch screens here. It's in the amount of $108,921.73. 8 checks, $3,617.30. There's pre-authorized payment of $13,706.71 and EFTs of $91,597.72.
Okay. Is there any questions at all for the accounts payable? Okay, so the motion there is resolved that council receive the invoice payment approval report as presented by the clerk acting treasurer, and the council approve the account listings for the April 1st to 14th, 2021 in the amount of $108,921.73. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, so that's the end of the staff reports. Is there anything for other business? Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
I just wanted to report that I went to the Blue Water Recycling, or Zoomed the Blue Water Recycling annual meeting last week. Just a couple highlights. They had a clean audit. Half their fleet is now natural gas, which is about 15% the cost of running diesel trucks. Their net income last year was about 700,000, which was nice because the previous year they lost that much. And waste, the amount of waste compared to recycling during the pandemic has really shot up. So that's a bit of a concern. And they also have had a labor shortage, so they've replaced 10 people with robots, and they think they're going to get about a little over a 2-year payback. So a lot of good news. Oh, and I asked about the truck batteries, like the large batteries, and their comments were that they're pretty high value metals that make up those batteries. So they think there will be a high demand for the companies to take them back and recycle them and reuse those metals. And that's it.
Thank you for the update. Is there anything else for other business at all before we go into the closed session? Okay, seeing none. So we need to have a motion to resolve that council hold a closed session meeting as provided for section 239 2D and section 239 3.1 of the Municipal Act. Mover and seconder for that. Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried, and we'll be back on YouTube once the closed session is done, which should not take too long for any of the